Every topic or piece of media has its big three. For shonen, it's One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto. For consoles, it's Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, of course. When it comes to strategy games, some would say Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Fire Emblem. Regardless of the fact that two of these are made by the same guy, these games' influence on the genre can't be denied. For every big three, there's always an outlier that doesn't get enough credit for influencing the genre in a big way. Like a beautiful Triforce, they sit right in the unoccupied middle negative space. In my mind, Vandal Hearts gets placed right in that negative space. Now believe me, I do think this game is freaking ugly, but as much as it is ugly, it's absolutely charming.
Sostagaria. For over a millennium, the fertile lands in the heart of this vast continent were ruled by the...
Man, this guy is really phoning it in. Sounds like he's reading a book report. In the beginning, there was Sostagaria, a continent. After a brief story introduction, the game starts us off with a group of three musketeers, Ash, Clint, and Diego. Members of the Security Defense Force, a group formed after the Civil War of Ishtaria that left the country in shambles and the poor vulnerable to bandits and politicians alike. They try to maintain peace in the country, or at least what's left of it. The story follows Ash and crew on a journey where they deal with class warfare, overcome their past, and uncover the truth of what would later be known simply as the Revolution. What a very creative name. Along the journey, we make some allies, traverse oceans and multiple planes of existence, while trying our best to uphold the democracy that was so hard fought for, regardless of a seedy fascist underbelly taking hold. Wait, when was this game made? By the end of everything, I was left with mostly positive feelings about Vandal Hearts, so today I want to talk about what's good, what's bad, and what's unique about Vandal Hearts. The good. The best thing about Vandal Hearts is that there is a Danny DeVito cameo that joins your party. I'm sure after hearing this, you've probably already begun downloading an emulator legally to experience the glory of this beautiful rotund man on wings. But before you do that, why don't you stick around for the rest of the video, silly? You know, for the algorithm. For the art style of this game, as ugly as it comes off, it really grew on me and even managed to impress me at times. The game really stands out when compared to contemporaries of the genre at the time. The enemy and spell designs are top tier. Watching Salamander be cast is always immaculate. Let's have a moment of silence to enjoy it. God, isn't this the coolest shit you've ever seen? The characters are just all so expressive on the battlefield. They all have unique animations and designs even if they're the same class. Like, look at the way this guy Dolan stands in that powerful wide-ass stance. I wouldn't walk up to that guy. Oh shit, did he just slash in an infinity circle? Or the way Huxley turns beet red when casting a spell to emphasize his effort. This attention to detail spans the entire playthrough. Characters can promote every 10 levels, with every class having its own special animations for each character. Kira as a Hawk Knight strikes through her enemies, while Darius spins out on his turbines. I really enjoy how the classes feel extremely defined, probably due in part to the game's weapon triangle system. While it doesn't completely overtake the game, the extra damage and defense for being an advantage class does make a meaningful difference. I think I played about 15 hours of the game before noticing that my characters were taking extra damage without me knowing why. The story, while usually predictable, does have its moments. I'll never forget seeing Cain beat the shit out of a helpless old man, or seeing Cain launch an arrow into a dying, helpless old man. A lot of elderly abuse in this game. Cain would do great in an old folks' home. Due to rampant misinformation, a lot of civilians spit uninformed rhetoric, believing that the war was caused by the revolutionists, in spite of the royalists taking advantage of commoners. These misunderstandings continue afterwards because of the Crimson Guard. Formed by the antagonist Hel and led by his son Cain, they instigate violence and constantly twist the truth of events. Those who are in power are always given the benefit of the doubt, because if they weren't righteous, how could they hold such a position? My experience working many different jobs has disproved this thought pattern time and again. People who are in higher positions tend to get there because they're willing to throw others under the bus as needed. They cut off their empathy and humanity in their pursuit of power. They're also really good at escaping accountability for anything negative that happens. So when your boss sends out the schedule for the week and suddenly changes it right before your day off to make it not your day off without telling you, don't feel bad. They got to where they are because they do shit like that. Know that you will never be in their position because you're not a piece of shit. Also, yes, this actually happened to me. I'm sure they'd plan to gaslight me much like Hel gaslit most of the country into believing that their suffering wasn't the fault of greedy, power-hungry people. As I mentioned earlier, the game showcases themes of fascism, even going as far as showing a little Nazi march in one of their cutscenes. As a nice side dish, there's a bit of classism, and I feel like the game handled touching on these subjects well. In the pursuit of power, without a strong just vision, man will become consumed by it. I feel like the game beautifully delivers this message in a way that's palatable and not too preachy, even if it spends the entire game showing this through multiple characters. How many had to die for me to understand this? 6. 6 people had to die.
You fools! You've messed with the natural order!
So bad. I would say the worst thing about Vandal Hearts is that you can get class cucked. Remember my man Dolan with the wide-ass stance? He got class cucked. I promoted him to an armored unit, and while the design is really cool and all Earthbound-like, I was unaware of the downsides. Unfortunately, armored units do not have very high jump or movement. This makes sense with the armor and all, but the thing that made this suck is that moving vertically costs extra movement. A lot of the maps being very vertical, mixed with a terrible jump stat, along with the fact that you do not get to position your units, means that you can get really fucked with this class. I loved Dolan, but due to all the previously mentioned, and the game for some reason putting him in the worst starting positions possible, it made him almost unusable. That, and there's no way to really know if he'll make a jump until you get there, leading to some frustrating trial and error. This was such a big issue, he actually began to fall behind in level, not because I didn't want to use him, but because I literally couldn't. The armored class is just too slow, and coupled with his positioning for almost every map being uncomplimentary, it leads to a really bad experience. What can I say? My favorites always suffer. Another aspect of combat I did not enjoy was the lack of information provided. You have to manually calculate safe positions, which is made worse when you don't know how far an enemy can attack you from. I ran into this a lot with enemy archers and mages. When archers promote, they get more range. Their range also increases with height advantage. This made it super difficult to know if I were placing my characters in safe locations, and they usually weren't. The enemy mages have spells that you can't acquire, meaning you don't know how far they can hit you from. This honestly felt really cheesy. I was trying to play Deathless, but due to the frustrating lack of information, I just decided it wasn't worth it. At least your units won't die permanently, even with the fountain of blood they spray when they fall in combat. This frustrating lack of information continues even in battle and victory conditions. For instance, in the battle with the poison swamp looking tiles, it's obvious that those poison swamp looking tiles will poison you, but the game won't tell you this until 2 turns in. In another map, there's a condition that requires you to defeat enemies in a certain amount of turns. A normal condition, aside from the fact that the game waits until turn 2 to tell you that the enemies are going to run away from you and that you have to corner them. This shit sucked because even when restarting the map, I barely made the cutoff for killing all of the enemies. So why the hell does it wait to tell me I need to chase them down after they already start running away? Another victory condition that sucks is having to reach a target location, and this one only sucks because in order for this condition to be met, every unit that you have on the map has to be as close as possible to the location. This means even if you've defeated every enemy along the way to your destination, you still have to waste your time moving every unit to the other end of the map. At least you'll have time to collect all those treasure chests, I guess. The only other thing that is just as frustrating is that visiting a town between battles is the only way to promote your units. Unfortunately, you could sometimes be stuck in multiple battles with an unpromoted unit, and you will feel the difference. Your archer not having as much range as the promoted enemy archer means they can't counterattack. Getting hit for free and being able to do nothing about it sucks ass. Outside of combat, the game could be a bit better about unit management. It just felt clunky at times. If you were in the menus to manage a character's loadout, you would be booted all the way to the beginning of the menu when backing out, instead of just being taken back to select another character. That, and you can't swap out items between a unit and your convoy. You have to remove the item from the unit's inventory, then go back to the convoy, select the item, then the unit. It's not that there's even a lot to manage, I just wish it could have been a little more streamlined. As far as the story goes, I can't really say too much bad about it. It was pretty standard outside of a few villains being evil for the sake of being evil. There was this one part that made me audibly go, oh come on man. It was a situation where our group has something the evil guy wants in exchange for a hostage. Instead of securing the hostage that's hoisted over lava first, they give over the item to the evil guy's skeleton minion. Then obviously the guy who is evil goes back on our deal. Like what? How could you go back on our deal, guy who is evil and wants to figuratively and literally see the world burn from primordial flame? How could you do this? Oh man. The unique. What I found most unique about Vandal Hearts is its attention to detail. Whenever a character promotes classes, the new design becomes a part of their portrait. Along with that, most characters stay in that design for the cutscenes too. When I chose to make Darius a Hawk Knight, I did it because I thought it would be funny to see the round man on wings, and the developers thought it would be funny too. That's why, as a tinkerer, they gave him a silly design that suits his character. Thanks to the game's sound design, you feel it when a character hits an enemy. You feel when one of your mages casts a spell because the nearby allies raise their guard. When a unit dies, it's emphasized by a splurting fountain of blood. The maps can be so creative, with most of them having some sort of gimmick you have to account for in your strategy. The battle with the bridge forces you to position towards the enemy because each turn a portion is blown off. The battle with the sandworm is dynamic because wherever the boss moves, it creates new vertical terrain, being possibly one of the coolest desert maps I've seen in a strategy game. Along with that, the music is very catchy. I just love the main battle theme, it feels powerful. All of these things help the battles have a very handcrafted feel. I think Vandal Hearts sits in the perfect spot to be someone's first strategy game. I'd imagine much like Fire Emblem, if this game were my first, I'd love the genre forever. It's so immersive. I found myself swinging with the characters when I would send them to attack. I would visit the tavern of every town and read all the dialogue. I'm even tempted to play the game again just so I can see the alternate class designs for some of the characters. I'm really glad this game was recommended to me on multiple occasions. It may not be the best or perfect strategy game, but I would say it's a nice, tight experience. The gameplay is fun, the story is serviceable, and I feel like it's the perfect length. So if you've got the time, I suggest giving Vandal Hearts a try. You might like it. Well, that's all for today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to... Later!